when you give up drinking or you give up whatever your numbing behavior is, you're left with everything that's underneath, everything that you were drinking to avoid or not think about or connect with people or whatever it is. And you still have to deal with that. So you can't just remove a substance without doing some of the work to sort of get you through life without your outer layer of skin or whatever it is.
Exactly. And yoga really helps us kind of build those muscles of resilience. And yoga helps us to have this opportunity where it's just us and our body and our mat. And we are given the opportunity to practice self-regulation, because in a yoga practice, especially a trauma-informed yoga practice, we are really gently guided to connect with our breath, and our breath is our gateway to our nervous system. So on the mat, we get to learn these tools to self-regulate so that if we're getting triggered off of our yoga mat, we can remember, oh yeah, hey, I remember when the teacher was talking about this breath that I can use right now, which is really powerful. But also on our mat, sometimes, things will come up that maybe have been stored in our body. And that can feel really intimidating, maybe, and maybe it sounds terrifying, but on the mat, you're given this opportunity to either lean into it or not, right? Like you're always sovereign and you are always in charge of your experience. But with a trauma-informed yoga class, the teacher will be inviting you to connect with your body, not telling you what to do. You are going to have full agency in a trauma-informed yoga class, and that's really empowering. For some trauma survivors, when they come to the mat, they may actually discover that they're completely numb, because disassociating it's a defense mechanism. It's actually a really intelligent thing that our body does if we're overwhelmed in a moment, which is one definition of trauma, right? Being overwhelmed. Too much is happening too fast, too quickly for us to really understand what's happening. So sometimes a trauma survivor will come to the mat and is feeling completely numb, not only physically, but maybe also mentally and emotionally as well. So with the movement and the invitations and just the starting to witness and just starting to become aware, somebody may start to feel their arm or maybe start to feel their breath. And then maybe they'll start to feel their feelings, right? Or whatever's been underneath it, like you've talked about. And then sometimes the opposite experience is true for someone who's new to recovery or trauma survivor coming onto the mat. They may be feeling too much, right? They may be feeling like they're too sensitive physically or too sensitive emotionally. So they find that having a yoga practice just helps them to kind of regulate that. So there's so many experiences that we get to like really explore and heal while we're on the mat.
And I know, when you talk about trauma-informed yoga, can you just give us a quick overview of how is that different than if you were go to, for example, a hot yoga class or a flow class? Like, what are the key things that are different in your yoga?
Yeah, great question. So in a trauma-informed yoga class, the main difference is the languaging. So like I said, the language it's an invitation. Everything that we are suggesting is just an invitation, and the student, we give lots of choices, lots of options, so that you as the student can decide if you want to do what is being suggested or not. And if you don't want to, that's okay. You don't have to. So it's a lot of invitation. If you are in person, right now everything's online, but if you're in person in a trauma-informed yoga class, there aren't any hands-on adjustments,
Mm-hmm.
which can be really nice for somebody who doesn't want to have hands-on adjustments. So you don't have to worry about a teacher putting their hands on you, right? Which is really big for a lot of people. We don't use Sanskrit, which some people find that if they aren't familiar with that language, they feel less than, they feel like they don't belong, or it just might be intimidating. So we don't use Sanskrit. We're really intentional about the type of music that is played. Those are just some examples, but really it comes down to the invitation and allowing the student to have full agency over their experience, which is really empowering.
Yeah.
Now, my style of trauma-informed yoga is I really like to make every class More of just a yoga class. I really want it to be every class to be like a journey or an experience. So I like to put a lot of thought into my playlists, and the playlists will always reflect the theme. So I always have themes. Every single class has a theme that is related to recovery or healing from all the things. And I will share readings or poems or quotes, things that really resonate with me, or things that I read or hear that just like get me right in the heart. I love to share
Mhm.
those with my student. I love to share philosophy. I love to share about, trauma theory. And, I just love to really make every class kind of educational, but also really transformative. So
Yeah.
there's lots of different elements in my
Well, when you
style.
said that you're really mindful about the music that you choose, I loved how you went into what your classes are like, because that's what I found so amazing about Salt Spring. I mean, the complete immersive experience, from the readings to the music, the crescendo of it, and how it does take you on a journey. And I know that I've signed up for, and I'm sure we'll talk about, but you have a 6-session signature recovery series online. And I love the topics there. I'm sure we'll go into them, but heart space, grounding, resilience, basically different practices for if you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, unsettled, or if you need to balance the energy around your heart from depression or isolation. I think they're wonderful, and I think I've told you that I don't think I'm using them, quote unquote, as prescribed, because
Right.
sometimes I listen to them as going to bed meditation
I love that.
as opposed to
Yeah.
doing the yoga. I just love your voice, and I takes me back to Salt Spring and really wonderful times. So I was like, I'm just going to listen to Taryn as I go to sleep on Heart Space.
That's so perfect. And that's the perfect, like, you're a perfect example of really practicing what a trauma informed yoga class would consist of. Because I have so many women who would come to my classes when they were in person, or as you know, because you've been on retreat, that will come to the class to have a nap.
Mhm.
And that makes me so happy when I see a woman come to yoga and have a nap, because she has given herself permission to rest. Clearly that is what she needs more than anything else, and she did it. And I've
Mhm.
never had somebody regret coming to my class and going to sleep. It's always exactly what they needed. So I love that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have online yoga, which can be found on the website. And there is the 6 classes like you're talking about, or there's also an online membership. And yeah, the great thing about that is you can go through all the classes and see what is resonating with you. What do you need that day, spiritually
Mhm.
or emotionally, right? And then there's also, the classes are different lengths. So maybe you only have 5 minutes, maybe you have an hour. So you can pick what you need on any day, which is really nice.
Do you have a favorite one in terms of introducing women to your yoga?
Do I have? Oh my gosh, no, there's too many that are my favorite. But what I do love talking about the issues in your tissues.
Tell us
So,
about that.
you want me to talk about that?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Nikki Myers, she created the yoga of 12-step recovery. She's amazing. Check her out if you haven't already. And she talks about how the issues that are in our tissues. So, everything that happens to us, we store in our body, right? There's this kind of energetic residue that we store within our body, the good and the bad. And our traumas, we also know that we actually also carry the blessings and the burdens, as Danielle Four talks about, in our bodies from our ancestors. But that's what I love about our yoga practice, is we have this opportunity to release anything that's been stored in our body, and we don't have to think about it. We don't have to attach a story to it. We don't have to create a story to it. All that we have to do is come to the mat, be intentional with just connecting with our body and moving. Our movement doesn't have to be crazy. It can just be really gentle. It can be as simple as inhaling your arms up overhead and exhaling them back down by your sides. And with that, we have the opportunity to release the stagnation, the energetic blocks, any trauma, any tension that's been living in our body for who knows how long. And that can be a really subtle release. Sometimes it may be experienced as an emotional release. Sometimes we actually may have memories that we have kind of repressed or suppressed surface. So it's just really healing and really important.